Hey there, everybody. I'm doing my research paper on Billy Graham, husband, father, pastor, evangelist. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up hearing about only the positive things about Graham, and I often wondered about the pedestal that he was put on. Well, as I've been researching him for this project, it's nice to learn that he faced some of the same struggles and made some of the same mistakes that many of us do. But he also showed us that with God's love and direction, we can be forgiven and we can overcome. He tried hard to learn from his mistakes. An analysis of his journey shows that he saw himself as a fallible man who just wanted to do what God called him to do. According to Grant Wacker, author of America's Pastor Billy Graham and the Shaping of a Nation, Graham felt called, quote, to be an evangelist and only an evangelist. Both privately and publicly, he worried that he might fail the assignment, end quote. Early on in his life, he learned the value of hard work. For example, while working on his father's dairy farm, he'd get up early enough each morning to milk 20 cows before going to school. He also grew up as your typical American kid. He played baseball and dreamed of playing it professionally. He liked cars and he drove his father's Model T, sometimes a little bit too fast. And he also had several girlfriends. He liked holding hands and kissing. However, he determined early on to keep himself pure until married, and he held to that commitment. In the fall of 1934, Evangelist Mordecai Ham was visiting the Charlotte area for 12 weeks of revival meetings. Well, Billy vowed he would not attend. But about a month in, his curiosity about Ham got the better of him, and he went. He was drawn in and went every night for the next 2 months. During this time, Graham realized that he couldn't make himself any better no matter how hard he tried. He also realized that he knew a lot about God, but as he said in his autobiography, Just As I Am, quote, I did not know Jesus Christ for myself, end quote. Well, somewhere around his 16th birthday on November 1st, 1934, Billy walked the Sawdust Trail and became a born-again Christian. Now, in his book, he said that, quote, being a Christian is more than just an instantaneous conversion. It is a daily process whereby you grow to be more and more like Christ, end quote. And he worked hard on that every day for the rest of his life. Graham was an ordained minister while he was attending college in Florida, and then he went to Wheaton College in Chicago and graduated with a degree in anthropology. He preached in a small church near the college for a short period of time, but he knew that God was calling him to do more. The first Billy Graham crusade was held in September 1947 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Elizabeth Flowers, in her review of Wacker's book, said, quote, the genius of Graham, it seems, was that he never advanced too quickly or too far in front of Middle America, end quote. Then Grant goes on to add, quote, his progressivism was more measured, again in sync with, if not slightly ahead of the times, end quote. Wacker does not gloss over the mistakes that Graham made, but he does point out that Graham tried to learn from his mistakes. Although he personally took down the rope that segregated his crusade in Tennessee in 1953, he didn't necessarily use it as a way to promote some type of social injustice. He was simply using it as a way to reach more people. And some people thought that he should have, spoken out a little bit more at that time about social injustice. His goal was to win souls to Christ, and that never changed. However, his vision of religious life did evolve. It's this evolution and change that drove him. Oftentimes he got ahead of himself and made mistakes. Some critics say he was too involved with politics, but others say he didn't get involved enough. Well, I hope to show that most importantly, he tried to stay above the bipartisan aspects of politics. Wacker claims that Graham helped shape American culture, but then he turns around and asks if maybe it was just that his actions reflected the culture that made him so successful. One of his quotes that I've heard many times, or at least some version of it, is very appropriate for society today because of everything that's going on around us. And it says, quote, I've read the last page of the Bible. It's going to turn out all right, end quote. And I'm glad it is.